What are the advantages and disadvantages of raising funds from venture capital firms? Let's start with the advantages. First, venture capital firms give you money when banks reject you. Most early stage companies are not suitable for any bank loan, maybe for grants, for some discounts here and there, but they would never receive $1 million or $500,000 in bank loan for just an early stage, not even prototype, I would say, product. So that's why this is a major advantage when you get money from venture capital firms who say, I trust you, I believe in you, let's get in the boat together and let's build this. So that's an advantage. Second advantage of raising funds from venture capital firms is that the process is less bureaucratic compared to maybe a bank. You just have to convince the investor and whoever is at the VC firm who is making the decision that you are the right person to put money in, and you are working on the right product at the right time, solving the right problem that everyone wants to have a solution for, and you have that solution. So that's a major advantage. The decision can be done within weeks, and you can get the money within weeks once you find the right VC. While if you compare it to a bank, the process can take very long, and you might not get even the loan. So that's the second advantage. The third advantage that's also there is that the VC can help you find also more investors later when you raise the next round of funding. So if you need more money later, it's actually in the VC's interest, who are already on board, to help you find more investors. In other words, raise more money to keep the company afloat and also be successful later and cover all the costs and finance the growth of the company. The fourth advantage that I see as well is that VCs usually try always to help you find the right talent. So once they put money where their mouth is, and they're on board, they want to make sure that you have the best team possible. So that's why VCs will always try to help you find the right executives, the right department heads, and also the talents that you need in order to be successful in your field. That's a major advantage. Now, let's talk about the disadvantages of raising funds from venture capital firms. The first disadvantage that I see is that raising funds from venture capital firms is one of the most expensive ways of fundraising compared to a bank loan, because you're sharing here ownership of your company with someone you don't know very well, and you don't know how they behave later when they are and you are also under pressure, or when the company in general is under pressure. And that means you have to compromise later down the road. So that's why it's a very expensive way of fundraising, but also justified if you think about it. These VCs are taking a big bet on you. They don't put any liability on you. They just say, okay, we share the ownership with you and try to make this successful together. So there is somehow an element of fairness, but at the same time, nevertheless, I would say economically, it is an expensive way of fundraising compared to a bank loan. Now, the second disadvantage is that sometimes, and actually in most cases, the VCs try to have one-sided or a bit unbalanced terms, I would say, in the investment agreement with them, because they want to protect themselves and minimize the risk they're getting into. So here you need to be careful. But in general, I would say it is somehow in favor of a VCs what you will at the end negotiate with them when you receive and get money from them. The third disadvantage of raising funds through venture capital firms is that you will dilute your shares. So the more actually investors come on board and the more funding rounds you will have, the more equity you have to give, but also your own shares will dilute as well, will reduce in amount. That's why it's a disadvantage compared to having a bank loan and where you have not to dilute your shares at all. The next maybe disadvantage, it's a funny one actually, it's that because they get more and more control of your company over time, that sometimes the VCs force you to listen to their advice, even when you don't want or you disagree, only because they have more control over your company than you do, or because they have voting rights where they can block your decisions and you cannot execute what you believe in as an entrepreneurial fund of the company. So this is also somehow a disadvantage. But if you build a good, healthy relationship with your VCs and investors, this can be also avoided. The last a disadvantage that I see, there are of course maybe others as well, but at the moment, is that fundraising can be very time consuming. It's almost like a full-time job when you have to always look, talk, network with people to find the right investors who are interested in you. You might talk to 100, 150, or even more potential investors until you find maybe 1, 2, or 3 investors who might be interested in your venture. So it is very time consuming. It can take between 6 to 9 months. That's a recommended time frame for anyone who wants to fundraise for their own venture. Don't do it like last minute. Never do it last minute. It's actually not recommendable. Do it always ahead of time when you know, okay, in the next 6 to 9 months, I will need money. That's when you start today. Because it's very time consuming, it is a disadvantage because it takes a lot of time, and that means that time that you usually would put into your business, you're putting it in trying to find potential investors, and you might or you might not succeed. So it's not a guarantee. So this is a disadvantage I see as well. I hope you got somehow a picture of the advantages and disadvantages. It sounds like maybe that the advantages are more than the advantages. But if you put everything in perspective, putting yourself also in that whole picture, you will see that most of the times it is somehow making sense to go and try to raise funds through venture capital firms, especially if you do it with the right motives and also try to connect on time. Don't do it last minute, but really like plan it ahead. Say, this is the way I want to raise funds, and I will go after it, and connect with as many people as you can. The more you talk with other founders, with other investors, even if they are not suitable for your venture, but just talk, learn, because everyone is connected with someone who might be in the end the right person for you and who might be interested in your venture. So that would be my advice. Think about these advantages and disadvantages. If you think, okay, you are a bit more pessimistic about it, don't go after VCs. But in general, I would say it's an exciting journey. It might be the right thing for you, but if not, absolutely fine. Try to find other ways. There are family and friends. There's crowdfunding. There is also bank loans are still an option if your business somehow is making money and you have a solid business model, or you bootstrap. You have enough savings and you finance your venture through your own cash flow. It means you already are selling your product and you can generate revenue, and do it, even if it takes longer. Bootstrapping sometimes in the end is more, I would say, profitable than maybe raising funds. So I hope this was somehow helpful. Please give me your feedback. Let's discuss it. Happy to hear from you guys. Talk to you then.